Alright, do-it-yourselfers, what we're working on here today is a Toyota Camry LE. This is a 2003 04 model. The drivers had an issue driving down the road, said he heard a roaring sound, some vibration. Turns out this back wheel right here, passenger side rear, has got a bad wheel hub bearing assembly. So we're going to be jacking this up, giving it a look, showing you what a bad wheel bearing or hub assembly looks like, and then we're going to show you how to fix it. You're going to need a few things before you get started on this job, which is the proper tools. You need a jack and a jack stand. Then you're going to need to go grab yourself some basic little tools. I've got plenty of tools for you to go check out on the Backwoods Mechanic channel. Just go in the description box below. Need something to break your lug nuts loose with, along with some of the other studs on the car. Then you're going to need a wheel hub assembly. This is NT512208 from DriveWorks. This would come from CarQuest and it'll only cost you right around $88. This is what it should look like when you pick it up. The lug nuts on this particular vehicle is a 21 millimeter. It's best to jack up the car part of the way, leave the tire half the way on the ground. That way you can break them lug nuts loose. Then the next thing you need to do is jack up your vehicle and safely secure it with a jack stand. Now the next thing you want to do is get this outside drum off right here. I like taking myself some deep creep sea foam. This stuff is great. Let it soak in for about 5 minutes and then start picking. Picking north, south, east, west. North, south, east, west. That'll loosen up some of the rust and corrosion around the hub that seals this drum on here. Now initially I was going to show you what this looks like with the tire on and you wiggle it back and forth and you got a bad hub bearing. Instead I took the tire off. You can go over to Instagram and see the video that I put over there and follow if you'd like. But I'm going to show you right here what this looks like when it's bad when I take the wheel off of it. You see how the actual studs right here that your lug nuts go on, they're all moving. Those should not move at all. This should be a solid piece that goes round and round. But instead, it moves real easy. I give you a different vantage point right there so you can see how far this is moving. Now that our deep creep is soaked in a little bit, we're going to continue to hit it. Now sometimes you will find little locking fasteners either right here or right here that you'll have to take out. There's also this little rubber boot right here. It looks like you can put a screwdriver in it and turn it, but it's really just rubber. Take yourself something right out here. The reason I'm getting this out of the way is so I can turn it around, find the adjuster to adjust the brakes away from the outside of this drum. Then you got to take yourself a flashlight and spin it around till you find the brake adjuster. It's probably in the 11 o'clock position on the passenger rear side. You should be able to put yourself a flathead screwdriver in here and either adjust it top or bottom depending on the side you're working on. One way will tighten the brakes, one way will loosen the brakes, and you can pull the drum off. So if you take your screwdriver and put it in here and then you pry downward, it's going to expand the brakes out and tighten up against the drum. What you're going to want to do is go down and then pry upwards, and that will keep the brake shoes away from the drum. Doing this, there's a little clip inside there, so you'll be able to get 1 or 2 teeth. Then you'll have to pry up on that little clip, get it away from the adjuster. But if you can see that little clip in there, you can take something like a little pick right here, pull back on that clip while adjusting with your screwdriver. Makes it a lot easier and a lot faster. Now it moves all the way around with ease. Now it's just a matter of beating all the way around it again and getting this rust break loose. Keep doing that a few rotations, give the deep creep time to work. That's the key, is getting enough vibration to knock it loose from this brake drum. Sometimes, like this particular drum right here, it's so rusted on that it's not coming off easily, so you might have to resort to drastic measures and get a bigger hammer. If all else, you might have to take a torch and heat all the way around the drum right here so that it loosens up some of that rust. Now while we're sitting here waiting on this deep creep to do its magic, usually I'll give it 15 or 20 minutes or so. Continuously peck on it, bang on it around through there, make sure that you're knocking the rust loose, spraying some more deep creep. Like I said, if it continues to get stuck, get yourself MAP gas. Take it, make sure you clean all this off, because if this is going to rust on the inside, it's usually right in behind where all of your lug nuts are. All right, so we've already pecked it a few different times, and right here you go. Sometimes people will take this all completely off, loosen up your brake pads, take all this off here. But there is time where if you do this right and these things cooperate, you don't actually have to take all your brake shoes off. You see inside there's a fastener. All you gotta do is stick your socket, your extension, your ratchet through these holes, and then you turn this hub around, you get on that fastener. Whip it around, do the same thing over here. on that fastener, that fastener, that fastener. There's 4 of them on this particular vehicle. Let's see if we can knock this hub assembly out of here and put the new one in. If it gets down to that situation where it's a little bit hard, then I guess we'll just have to take all the rest of this off. No big deal. I'm just going to try to do this the easiest, simplest way as possible to show you how it can be done. On this particular model, those are 14mm fasteners. Now you need to decide what you're going to work with. Test out whatever will fit inside your hole. You know, the 1/2" impact sockets probably won't work. You got a 3/8 impact sockets, it'll definitely work. Or you can simply stick some chrome in there, see which one will work. Personally, I'm going to use a 14mm Craftsman deep weld 1/2" drive. That way I've got all kinds of torque and leverage for what I need. Stick it on the fastener here. There's one fastener. 2. Now that all of the fasteners are loose on this, I'm going to try to knock this loose, get it out of its housing. And one more thing I will warn you about while this is soaking in here is your brake line, of course, runs through here. It goes into your brake cylinder. Then you've also got 2 different fasteners that go to your emergency brake cable that mount into the bottom of this. This hub assembly mounts in to your brake assembly, the flange in between. It kind of keeps everything in place. When you're knocking all this off, there's a good possibility that you could knock your whole assembly off here. And if you don't want this to jump down, fall down, don't want to risk bending any of your stuff here with your brake hoses, all you got to do is hook something up to kind of let it hang here in the event that it goes to fall off, just to minimize potential damage. But most of the time, this whole piece will come off if you hit it hard enough. Just an FYI, because people do these differently. You run into different things, but this is just how I'm doing it, some of the stuff that I'm suggesting. Except some string, tie strap, something like that. I put this little hook right here I usually use for calipers, and I run it all the way up through here and hooked it up right around where the struts are. That way when I start beating all the way around this, whenever it pops loose, it's not going to just fall to the ground and risk bending my brake line here. What I'm wanting to do is knock it loose from where it sits inside of that housing back there, away from the flange. At one point in time, I did put a tire back on because the thing was in there so bad. I strapped the lugs back up and I barely put the weight back down on it. I left the jack stand, everything under it, and it just kind of helped put some force on it while I was beating on the outside of a tire, just enough for it to pop it loose. I don't recommend doing that because that can be pretty dangerous. However, in this situation, you can even turn this thing around, take and knock all of your lug studs out. That way it's completely out of the way, and then you can go around the outside of this hub housing, just beating on it back and forth, up and down, left and right, side to side, and it will eventually pop loose, either from here or this whole housing section will pop loose. Now she's loosening up for us. Now this is officially loose. You can see right here, give you in behind look here. You can see where it's come loose at. It sits inside right here. We're gonna have to get this whole piece out of the way, clean that out, and then knock this out from the drum housing. Now some of these will have a wheel speed sensor, otherwise ABS sensor, built inside of this. This one's got one. The plug goes through the backside, and sometimes you'll have to go in and inspect these and unplug it from the backside. This one, someone's already undone. We can get a good look at it right there. There's what we're looking at. Said that's your brakes right here. So you don't want to twist this cable too much. You want to make sure it's nice and loose right there. And here's your hub assembly that you need to knock out of this housing. I'm just going to take this fastener here off so that this will allow this whole assembly here to sit on the ground. Now the fastener that's holding it in place right here at the top of this hose we was talking about is going to be a 12mm. Hold on to your brake line there. Get it loose, just pull it out. You should have enough room to set the entire assembly right here on the ground. This is without having to actually do anything to these brake hoses. Just make sure the hose stays nice and straight, that it's not getting kinked up. You can proceed to go ahead, lube up the back half of the hub assembly, and we'll go ahead and start cleaning this out. This is where it will sit at on the inside. We need to clean every bit of this gunk out of here. As you can see, dirt, corrosion. Clean all that out. This one does have the wheel speed sensor. Now whenever you put these on, you would have to make sure you put it in, feed it through here. Now in this situation, someone's removed that. This one doesn't have one at all. It ain't got no wiring harness, nothing, so we're not going to worry about that. But we are going to go ahead and clean all this out with a good wire brush. We're going to go ahead and try to make this as easy as possible. Brush some more deep creep around it because this needs to come out of that housing. We're going to let this deep creep do its work, and we're going to hit it a few times with a hammer, and it should pop loose. Hurt to do the same thing on the outside of this one while that deep creep's sitting in, or whatever you're using for lube. That way it knocks some of the rust off there and it lets it get inside there and do its magic. All right, now one thing it wouldn't hurt to do is after you clean all this up, go ahead and put you some lube inside there, get you some anti-seed, grease, whatever, slide it around through there, let it lube up, so it'll be easier to do next time if you plan on keeping the vehicle for a long period of time. Also clean up the threads on your fasteners here, put some deep creep anti-seeds on them, get them ready, and then this thing should be ready to knock out of here. We don't want to risk damaging our brake line, so we're going to take a 10mm here by GearWrench. We're going to stick it on here, we're going to break it loose, and we're going to go ahead and take this line off because this is just not going to cooperate, and we do not want to risk damaging our line. Just take it, loosen it up here until it unscrews. All right, so now that I got the brake line off here out of the way, all I did was kind of hang it up right here for the time being. Well, we got enough room to maneuver this thing around, start beating on it, and get it knocked out of its housing here. Laying this one down, sinking it in the ground. Your big thing is making sure that you break away the rust. It's the same thing on the back of this flange here, on the back of this housing, that it was with the drum. You got rust on the back side of this in between these bolts, and you're going to have to beat the mortal dog shit out of it to get it loose. I like giving it a good few swift hits with this 4-pound sledgehammer right smack dab in the middle of it. Right there you go. Breaks it loose. Here's the old one, and all of the brakes are still intact. One will have the wheel speed sensor, one will not. Considering this one's not hooked up, we're just going to go ahead and put this one back in its place. Both of them are identical, have the same threads, the whole 9 yards. So now we're going to clean up that flange and we're going to reinstall it. So we're going to go ahead and flip this over. We got the inside of this cleaned out and put you a little bit of grease inside here. That way the next time you have to do this, it's already a little bit lubed up. You'll notice on the back of this hub, the top half is going to be a little bit wider on the arms than the lower half. You should be able to make out the exact same pattern on the inside where you just took the old one off at. Take it, position it in place where you need it at, and it should snap right back into place. Once it snaps back into place, you're carefully going to guide it back up in here. Get your bolts ready, fasteners ready to start them back in. One over here at the 2 o'clock position, one about the 7 o'clock position. I'll go ahead and take my fastener. I'm going to put it in place here. I'm going to go ahead and guide it. You guide that one in place. You can help put it right there in the hole where you're at, as you can see. These little flex head ratchets help me here keep control of the situation and be able to tighten it whenever I line it up. So that one's going to be my 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock position. That should be right around the hole. Now what that's going to do is it's going to help hold this hub assembly in place while you line the rest of it up. Now I'm actually setting it on the inside of the housing that it needs to go in. I can actually see a hole going all the way through the other side from the bottom half here. Now that the threads are started on that one, just a few threads. I didn't try to tighten it all the way up. I'm going to go ahead and guide one of these fasteners in. Now the reason I decided to do one up top, one down on the bottom here is that way it helps lock this hub assembly in place. It won't make it go in there cockeyed. I can actually put the housing in there the way it's supposed to go. You tighten the one up top up a little bit, then the one on the bottom. One up top, one on the bottom, then go ahead and add your other two and just kind of go around it in the same rotation. That'll ensure when it's tightening up that it's actually pulling the hub assembly in place nice and even, and it's not going to be cocked sideways, not going to cause you any problems. Which is also why I like using this one little teeny tiny ratchet right here, because it kind of helps you do all these adjustments without something big and bulky in your way. Now before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and reattach my brake line back here to the brake cylinder. Now I went ahead and done that so that I didn't get no more air in the system than what I already would have had. Now I'll finish going ahead and running these in. Now I'll move my way up to the bigger ratchet. Of course, the best thing you can do is get yourself a torque wrench and make sure these things are torqued down to the proper spec. If you don't got a torque wrench, you want to make sure they're tight, but not too tight. And looking behind here, make sure everything's nice and flush. To make sure that you ain't got nothing cockeyed, because you will be able to notice if something's a little bit offset. You don't want to go too tight, because then you can break your studs off and you'll really be in trouble. Now, once that's all said and done, make sure that your brakes are still in line, your cylinder's still in line, everything else looks pretty good. If anything's out of whack, you'll be able to tell it. As at this moment in time, you've got to the point that's going to excite you the most, and that's putting everything back together. And whenever you line it up, you want to make sure this big hole in it right here is going to go inside of one of these holes right here. It's not going to fit onto this one. We'll roll it around here, see if it fits on that one. Now that hole, it fits on perfectly, and that's what we're going to use. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to readjust these brakes. It'll push it back out up against the outside of that drum, and it won't have quite as far to go whenever we get ready to bleed it out and make sure it runs good. If you want to see more content, more things to come in the future, all you got to do is pop the clutch on that subscribe button, go over to Instagram and hit follow. There's plenty of tools on this channel. You can go check out, something for everyone. If this video helped you, make sure to comment in the description box below. Thanks for watching.